I'm Julie Wright, and I'm doing this Facebook Live event, which is kind of exciting. I'm excited that you're here with me, and hope that you have fun doing this with me. I'm kind of excited to be here with you. So we're going to be talking today about Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's because I wrote it. I wrote a book. I did a thing, and that's exciting to do a thing. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about writing in general. We're going to talk about inspiration. So if we have any aspiring writers out there, we're going to talk a little bit about, what it takes to be a writer and how to get stories, ideas. And so to give a little information on me, I started writing when I was 15 years old. Okay, that's not true. I actually started a lot earlier than that. I've always been writing. In fact, if you go back and all the little things, like your things that you send home to mom, and when I grow up, I'm going to be blank, and then you fill it out because that's the only thing that your teacher is willing to trust you to write is that one thing, and the rest of it she writes in for you. So I all of those that I ever took home said writer, book writer, things like that. Those were the things that I did. So I've always wanted, clearly, even from like second grade, kindergarten, fourth grade, these are the things that I had. And so I always wanted to be a writer. But I started writing sincerely when I was 15 years old. And I'm going to go into a story as to why later. We're going to do that later because later is better. But I've written 23 novels. This is my Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's is my 13th published novel, which is kind of exciting. And so I have a few that are shelved that aren't out yet, some that are awesome and I love a whole lot, and I'm excited to see the day when they get to see the world because the world will love them. But anyway, 23 novels, and I have 3 kids, 1 neurotic dog that's, I think, immortal. I think it made a pact with the devil and it's never going to die. She's 18 years old. She's awesome. I'm so glad she made a pact and she's going to stay alive forever because that's cool. Anyway, we're going to start this off with a giveaway because giveaways are cool. And guess what we're going to give away? We're going to give away Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's because why not? I'm here and I have a book, so we're going to give it away. So if you're excited about that and you entered the giveaway, that's cool. Good for you. Okay. We're going to pull a name out, and Sandra Norfleet Withrich, which is a very cool name. That's actually a very fun name to say. Withrich, that's awesome. So congratulations, you won a book. Yay, I'm very happy for you. That's exciting. So you won a book, and that's fun, and that goes to her so that we have that. So anyway, talk about writing and how I got started. And the reason why I want to talk about this is kind of important to me. As a writer and as a creator, I think that we all have something. Everybody has some creative element in them, and they choose to use it, whether it's designing a building or making clocks. I don't know where that one came from, but why not? Or writing or art or photography or dancing or whatever. We all have things that programming is an art all by itself. We all have this little creative thing where we want to make something and make something that matters. When I was in 7th grade, that was when I became really avid in writing, and it was because I had this cute little teacher, and her name was Mrs. Brown, and she was awesome, and I loved her a lot, and she was kind of one of the sweet little wrinkly, soft sort of women. She was fantastic, and she took me into class, or after class one day, and she handed me, we had those little journals, remember the little journals you had to keep when you're in school? She slid mine across the desk, and she said to me, "You're a beautiful writer. You have a real talent here." She used the T word, which was very cool. I was super excited about that. I'm like, I have a talent. I didn't know that I had a talent because every other attempt at talent that I'd had in my life failed miserably. I can't cook. I burn everything. There's just, I tell my husband all the time I don't cook because recipes don't have plots and therefore they're not worth my time to read. So if there's that's the thing. But I just didn't have any skills. And so for this cute little woman to say, hey, you're good at something, and an age where you're just messed up. 7th grade, that's a tough year for kids. And middle school in general is tough because you're just awkward, your body's awkward, your mind is going crazy, and you don't know who you are or where you're going to fit in the world. And so for her to slide this across the table and say, this is where you fit in the world, that was a huge moment for me. And I just loved her to pieces. And she told me I was good at something, and that made me love her even more. So flash forward to 10th grade. I'm now with Mr. Cowden, who's not awesome, and he actually kept me after class one day, and he told me that my short story wasn't great, and he basically told me I would never ever be a writer. He actually said that. He had my pages in his hand. It was like 7 pages. And he's like, "You will never be a writer." And I stared at him for a minute, and I'm like, oh, buddy, it is on. Because a cute little wrinkled woman from seventh grade said that I was going to be a great writer. And so that was the day I started writing in earnest. And I wrote my first book because he told me I couldn't. So that was how I got started as a writer. Why I'm sharing this story and why I'm telling all of you this is because, like I said, we all have something creative in us, and we all have people who are going to tell us, the voices in our lives. We have people telling us we're going to be great at something. We have people who are going to tell us that we're going to fail at something. We have people who tell us we're not shiny enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not smart enough, we're not whatever enough. But then we have those other voices who are like, you're amazing, you can do this, you're awesome. And so I'm sharing this story because I think people out there, you have something awesome to give the world. You are also shiny and amazing and capable. And so the question I'm asking you is, there's voices telling you, yes, you can, no, you can't. Who are you going to listen to? And so my challenge for everybody today is to choose who they're going to listen to. What voices are you going to listen to, and what impact are you going to have on the world? And what dreams are you going to follow? And yeah, so that's why I shared that story. So story time's over. We're going to go to some questions from the viewing audience because I'm here and I can. So let's see. Meg asked me, what was your favorite part to write in Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's? So let me tell you, there were a lot of favorite parts. I loved writing this book. It was an amazing experience for me. Sylvia is one of my very favorite characters that I've written in a long time. She is, I based her off of a person I know in real life. And so like the disability, the one eye and the losing the eye to cancer, that's real, that happened to my friend Sylvia. And I love Sylvia with my whole soul. She's like one of the funniest people you will ever spend a week with. I mean, seriously, girls camp without Sylvia would be misery. She's the funnest person to have at a party. She's fantastic. And so writing about her was probably my favorite part, just getting her personality. And the fact that Sylvia and I have a little thing where, if you ever saw Dirty Dancing, oh, Sylvia, yes, Mickey, how do you call your lover boy? Oh, lover boy. Yeah, we do that. So and every time I say, oh, Sylvia, to her, she always answers, yes, Mickey. And I just love that she plays that game with me. And so I loved writing that into the book because that's like my favorite game to play with my friend. It's silly, and I don't care because it's fantastic as well. So you can be silly and fantastic, and that's what Sylvia and I are when we're together. So that is my favorite part of writing this book. Another favorite part that I really enjoyed was I liked writing about the movie industry. I used to work in the movie industry. I did a lot of extra work and featured extra work and stand-in work and photo double stuff, and it was fun. And it's one of those things that once you get into the industry, you really never want to leave. It's a beautiful industry, and there's catered food, and we've already established I don't cook, but I like to eat. So catered food all the time. So you go to craft services, and there's there's food everywhere. I mean, seriously, if you want to be fed awesomely, go work in the film industry. You will be fed awesomely every day, and it's fantastic. It's my favorite part of film work, which is weird because that's probably not everybody's favorite, but I really like to eat. So there you go. And I don't cook, so yeah. Anyway. So I loved writing about the film industry. I liked revisiting an old friend. That's kind of what it felt like, doing the writing of those scenes and those parts. And I enjoy film, and I enjoy Hollywood, and I like the power that Hollywood can have on the world. And sometimes they don't use it for awesome things, but sometimes they really do. Sometimes they step up their game, and they inspire, and they uplift, and they do awesome things with it. So I like that part of Hollywood. And there is a dark underside to Hollywood. It exists. But I like the beautiful part of Hollywood, too. That's my favorite. So I really enjoyed writing about those. Those were my favorite things. So Sylvia and Hollywood, those are my favorite things to write about. Let's see. Let's do another question. So let's see. We've got... What was your inspiration for both of your books? So we have a couple of books here, both of your books. We're going to talk about Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, which Audrey Hepburn was obviously a huge part of writing this. She was from the very beginning a huge part of this book. She's an amazing woman. She did amazing things. She was like one of the most fantastic people. I mean, to research about her was an honor, and made me wish that I had an opportunity to know her. She was an amazing woman, and she was a woman to teach other women how to be. And she was a career woman, which I am. And she was a mom, which I am. She's this, she's the fun, sassy thing, which I kind of hope that I am too. I don't know that I am, but I want to be. And so she was delightful in every way to learn about, and the fact that she was just this spunky, fun, fantastic, but woman who wanted to be a mom and who wanted to have a home life and who put her priorities in the right order. And not everybody who has careers do that. So I really like that about her. So she was obviously my inspiration for this particular book. And for Lies Jane Austen Told Me, my inspiration was obviously Jane. I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, and I like, seriously, I'm a crazy fan. I own a Regency gown, and I make no apologies for that. And I think that that's what makes me cool, is that is in my closet and that I wear it on occasion and I don't feel bad about it and I feel awesome when I'm wearing it. I think Jane Austen's amazing. And so those are my inspirations, is these two strong, awesome women who have done strong, awesome things. And that, like, Jane Austen she was so before her time that she could prove that a pen fit in the hand of a woman as well as a man's is an amazing thing that she did for authors. And being that I am an author, I really appreciate that, because as a woman, it had to be a hard thing for her to do, to write these books and to assume that anybody would want to read them, and to be bold enough to be willing to put them out. And I just think that's very cool. As well with Audrey Hepburn, I think she's one of those women who, in a world of Hollywood kind of wasn't into the whole family thing. You know, it's like, oh, you want to be a mom? Oh, come on, you've got this great career. Come on, let's just make another movie. But she didn't necessarily always bow to that. So when she was having her children, she wanted to spend time with her children. Well, that's what she did, and that was her priority. And I don't think she lost anything. In fact, there was an interview with her, and I loved this interview, where this woman who was also a part of the Hollywood world, and so is in that kind of Hollywood mindset of your career first, she asked Audrey, she's like, well, do you feel like you missed out on anything? I mean, those were years you could have been making movies and you just weren't. And Audrey's like, seriously? And she kind of almost looked around like, are you messing with me here? She's like, no. It's like, I never think to myself, I wish I made another movie, because I was doing what I wanted to be doing. She was spending time with her son. She was spending time with her children. That was her thing. And she never thought, oh man, I wish that I had done just 2 more movies at the end of her life. She's not looking at that. She's looking at the time she spent with her family and thinking, yeah, that was time well spent. And that was a good priority, where she balanced it. She had that brilliant career. She had that beautiful thing. But she also did a really wonderful balance where she had her family, and she kept that nicely balanced so that she wasn't tipped one way really or the other. She was very cool that way, and I really like that about her. So those were kind of my inspirations. Let's do another giveaway, because we can, and we're going to do a twofer this time because we've talked about these 2 books now, so let's give them away. So we're going to do a giveaway for Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, and we're going to give away a Lies Jane Austen Told Me. And here's a spoiler alert. The lies are truths, so if you're looking for them as you're reading them, just know that the lies are not lies, they are truths. It's just kind of a little sarcasm or, tongue-in-cheek, or I don't know. So anyway, let's pick another lucky winner. Leslie Waters. Leslie, congratulations, you have 2 new books, and they're very cool books, and I hope you love them. And if you don't tell me, because I have a bad self-image. No, just kidding. Kind of just kidding. Anyway, so let's do some more questions, because we have a whole bunch of them here. We should get there. So they said, are modern tales your favorite, or have you considered setting your books in historical time periods? And what time period intrigues you the most? So modern tales are they my favorite? Not necessarily. I love them. I love writing about our modern time. I love them because I enjoy our time period. I like writing to our people, about our people, during our own personal time period right now. That's kind of where I'm at. I like talking about modern day issues and things that women can do, and I like that modern take and that modern spin on things. But yeah, I have lots of ideas for books that take place in other settings. We already talked about the fact that I own a Regency gown, and make no apologies for that. And so yeah, I would like to write a Regency novel at some point, and I think I probably will. I have a really fantastic idea for one, so I'm kind of excited about that. Someday that will happen. Probably in the next year I will get that figured out and kind of detailed in my mind so that I can get it down on paper. I've also written a lot of fairy tale books, so 15th, 16th century type of books. books that take place during those time periods where magic is possible, and not necessarily that there's magic in the books, but that magic is believed in a lot. I like that time period because they were young, and things that were scientific looked like magic, and I like the idea of the dark forest and going into the dark forest to discover what it hides. I like the discovery process of that. So yeah, I've written several books in that kind of time period, the 15th, 16th century, where the world is still young enough that fairy tales are scary and wonderful and charming and beautiful and wretched and all of those things wrapped up into one thing. And so yeah, I like that time period a lot. It's one of my total favorites. It's pretty cool. So yeah, you'll definitely be seeing things that are more period from me, but you'll also be seeing contemporary works as well, because I enjoy our contemporary world. This is a world we live in. Like Jane Austen, she wrote about the world she lived in. She could have written about, 14th century trolls in Sweden. She could have, but she didn't. She wrote about her time period, what she knew. They always tell you, write what you know. My authentic voice is very much now. It's contemporary right now. And so writing for now is something I enjoy. So yeah. Let's do another question. From start to finish, how long does it take for you to write a book? She says, if it varies wildly, how long did it take for you to write this one? Okay, so we already went on the story of my first book that I started when I was 15 years old with Mr. Cowden. It started as a 7-page short story. Actually, and why it ended up being a full book was because I took it to my grandmother, who I love. So you'll find that there's like a grandma theme through all of my books too, because grandma is awesome. She's like my best friend in the whole world, and I just love her more than anything, and I miss her every day. But I get all crybaby about that. I do, and I'm not going to be weird on Facebook. So anyway, sorry about that. There's a moment's over. Anyway, so I took my short story to her because I wanted her to read it, because I'd written this 7-page awesome short story, and I won first place in a writing contest at the high school for reflections, and my teacher was telling me that he was a little horrified because he didn't think it should have won, and that kind of a thing, because he was an awesome teacher. But I took it to my grandma because I'd won, and I got $100 out of it. When you're 15, $100 is a freaking $1 million. It's kind of awesome, and I immediately bought lunch for all my friends, and then I didn't have any dollars, which was sad. But I took it to my grandma, and I'm reading it to her, and I'm like, hey, grandma, look, I wrote this thing, and she read it because she's an awesome grandma, and then she frowned. That's not a good sign. And she said, that is the worst story I've ever read. And I was heartbroken because that was not the expected reaction. I'm like, dude, seriously? You're my grandma. These are words you are not allowed to say. That's like against grandma rules. What, did they teach you anything at grandma school? Isn't that how it works? You're supposed to say, oh, honey, I loved it, and give me a hug and make me cookies. That's how it's supposed to go. But she didn't. She was a tough love kind of woman. And I'm like, what? Why would you say that? I was pretty heartbroken. And she's like, you killed the main character off in the end, and why would you do that? That's terrible. Don't send me anything more of yours to read until you have a happy ending. And the challenge was set. I'm like, challenge accepted. And I went home that day to find a happy ending to this particular story. And 257 pages later, I found it. But it took me a long time. So it took me, from 15. And I finished it when I was like 23, 24. And that was when I finished the book. So it was a pretty big span there because, bright and shiny, 15 years old. I was dating at the time, and I had a really cute boyfriend who I ended up marrying at one point or another. Yeah, we did get married, and that was fun. And he's like my best bud. But so it's a long period of time. A lot of things happened in there, and it took me a long time. So my second book, because that one finally got published, we aren't going to talk about the publication process, but that one got published, and I realized at that point I could probably write another book. And that was very exciting because I'm like, oh, I'm empowered. I could write this other. So I did, and I wrote another book, and that one took me 6 months because there's no such thing as second book infertility. You can, if you can write one, you can write two. And if you can write two, you can write 20. And if you can write 20, I'm going to die with a pen in my hand. I just know it in my heart, or a keyboard at my fingertips probably, because I haven't written a book by hand for years. I've wrote my first 3 books that way, but I haven't done it for a long time. But because, technology, huzzah, it's beautiful. It's like, oppa, technology, yes, we all love it. So anyway, I went from years, 15 to 23 is how many? 5, 3, 8. I'm sorry, I'm a writer. I don't do math. Math is hard. So that's 8 years. It took me a lot longer to come up with that math equation than it probably would have to have written a book. But yeah, 8 years for the first one and 6 months for the second one. And 6 months is pretty much my standard now. It takes me about 6 months to write anything from kind of start to finish. But that's kind of a lie too, because yeah, it takes 6 months to write the book, to, you know, take your pen and get going and get it done, or get your keyboard out and start writing. It takes out, but I usually have an idea a couple of years in advance, and they just kind of sit in my head. And then when I'm doing dishes, or if I'm vacuuming, or if I'm mowing the lawn or whatever, I'm thinking about the story that I've come up with. And it just sits there and percolates for a long time. I just let it marinate there. And then one day I decide, it is time. You know, the little baboon from Lion King. I'm like, it is time. And then I start writing. But because it's had so much time hanging out in my head and marinating, and all of those characters, thoughts, and ideas, then by the time it comes to write it, I can write pretty quick. So that's the reason why it gets done so fast, is because it's just been sitting there doing what it does, and then all of a sudden it's like, I can write a whole book now, because I know these characters. I've looked at them they've been in my head for years, and so to write about them now is an easy thing to do. So, let's see.
I have some questions from Facebook too, if you want to answer some of those.
Okay, let's do a Facebook question.
So this is from Jill. If you could have a guaranteed job in the movie industry, what would your ideal job be?
Scriptwriter. Wow, that was an easy one. Oh my gosh, I would love to write scripts. Okay, guys, I don't know if you've read my books. That people who are like, if you're watching this, I don't know if you've read my books yet or not. If you haven't, oh my stars, get busy. You've got reading to do, and it's fun. I rock dialogue. I'm really good at that, which means script writing is like my jam. That would be my thing, because dialogue, that's fun. To conversations that people have back and forth, I think, are fascinating. The thing people are willing to say to each other, that's awesome. So yeah, script writer. I would do that every day, all day. It would be my favorite thing. Script writer, oh my stars. How do I get into that? But did you know, this is a true thing, I'm not making this up, there are 1.8, okay, I made the point part up, because there's like almost 2. Out of every 100 script writers, only 1 to 2 of them are going to be female. That's changing, and that's awesome. But that's kind of where, that's the dark side of Hollywood, where they really need to step up their game, because women are great writers, and they need to recognize that great scripts can come from women. And so I urge you, women who want to write scripts, go forth and do it, and go slam Hollywood with them, because they need them. That would be a great thing. So yeah, scriptwriter, that's my thing.
All right, one more. How does your relationship with your friends and family and the things they say help you write?
Oh, they are the best research ever. It's like, if you don't steal from the people you love, I don't know. I have a bunch of people at work. Hi, people at work. I'm an editor, and they say crazy things all the time, and I'm like, I'm stealing that for a book, and then they always say, "Yay, I'm in Julie's book," and that's exciting for them. But yeah, I steal from people I know all the time, and it's kind of a careful or you'll end up in my novel. That's a real thing. And like, so all the characters, they're each and every character is like, I've taken 10 different people I know, and I've mushed them all together and made them one character, and that's kind of how characters work for my book. I steal from people all the time, and it's fun. It was fun raising little kids when I was writing middle grade, because they came up with crazy things, and it was fun to write about those crazy things. And my husband he's such a fantastic proponent of me. He supports me in everything I do, and he totally cares about things. And so when he says something clever, I'm happy to steal it, and he's happy to give it. And so nobody seems to mind yet. I'm waiting for the day when somebody's like, dude, seriously, that was not okay. But nobody has yet, so that's great, I guess. Yeah, I really enjoy stealing from other people, so be careful what you say when you're around me. Everything is fair game, just so you're aware. But I will tell you first, I will say, hey, I'm stealing that for a book. So if you're a writer person, I don't actually ever steal from writer people. My writer friends, I don't steal from them, because chances are good they're going to use what they said in a book anyway. So that's like off limits things. So, but I do warn you first of, hey, I'm sticking that in a book. So if you don't want it, you should speak up for yourself, and then I will respect that. So, do you want to go here? Okay. So it says, how do you keep your characters' voices unique and fresh? And I love this question. And for writers, this is a great question, especially for writers, because voice is really important. Think about when people you love, like your best friend, calls you up on the phone. You answer the phone, and they say, hey, what's up? That's all they said. Or even just, hey, or hi. You immediately know who that person is based on their voice. And voice is super unique and super important. And so it's one of the things when I'm teaching writing classes, I try to teach that, just be careful. Your 20-year-old should not sound like your 6-year-old, should not sound like your 80-year-old, should not sound like your lawyer, should not sound like your car mechanic, should not sound like your waitress, they should all be very distinct and have their own, tilts and lifts and lilts and all the words that I'm not saying right, but they should have their own tones and the way they speak and their own pattern of speech and their own little pet words. Everybody has pet words. I have a zillion of them, and things that they want to say all the time, and then there's people who are very quiet and they're going to sit back and they're going to not say much, and that's okay too. Think like Phineas and Ferb. Ferb doesn't talk a lot, which is awesome, and when he does talk, everybody stops and listens because whatever he's got to say is super important, because he's Ferb and he never speaks, and so when he does, it's like, oh, he spoke. So keeping your voices fresh and unique are kind of like that, of making sure that their personality shines in that, their level of education, their socioeconomic condition that they're living in, their upbringing, their culture of where they grew up. So Utah culture is going to be different from Boston culture, which is going to be different from New York culture. Even Boston and New York cultures are totally different places. So keeping that all in mind, and which is going to be different from like a European culture or whatever, you get the point. So yeah, keeping them all separate is a really good thing. So one more question here is, where did you get the idea to play off Jane Austen and Audrey Hepburn? And there'll be more like this in the future. And so the Jane Austen and the Audrey Hepburn, like I said, Jane, I actually have always wanted to write a book that had Jane somewhere involved in it. And because, let's be honest, when we're dating, and if you're a fan of Jane Austen, during your dating years, nothing could be a greater disservice to you, because you are looking for Mr. Knightley and Mr. Darcy. You're looking for them, and you are staying away from Mr. Collins because you know he's bad news. You are doing that, and so I wanted to write a book about kind of that dating process of these high expectations, these women who want, this is what I expect from the guys that I'm dating. I don't want this down here, I want this up here. And sometimes you feel like Jane just totally failed you. You're like, Mr. Darcy's not out there. He doesn't exist. Mr. Knightley is a farce. It's just not going to happen. So you're sad about that. So that was where that came in. And then I wanted to write a book that was set in a Hollywood setting. And so I talked with my editor and my product manager, and we were talking about various things in the Hollywood world. And they actually said, well, what about Audrey Hepburn? And I'm like, well, I'm a fan of her movies. I love them, but I don't know that I know enough about her. Like Jane, I know a lot about Jane. I own like tomes of books that are all about Jane and her time period and her life and the things that she did, and because I know everything about her, I'm like, I feel a little uncomfortable writing about Audrey. I don't know much about her, but I loved it. It was the best idea I've ever heard, because writing about her was fantastic, and she was an amazing woman, and she gave a lot to charity, gave back to UNICEF, which was her her pet foundation. She did a lot for the children of the world. It's like when she was done raising her own children, she turned her eyes to the children of the world and raised them, and it was brilliant, it was beautiful, and it was everything wonderful in the world, and I just loved learning about her. So the first idea was because I wanted to do that. The second one was because I wanted to do something set in Hollywood, and my product manager and my editor are brilliant people, and they're like, hey, do this. And I'm like, oh, that's scary, but okay. And I did, and it was awesome, and I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity, and I'm really glad that I got to do that. And I loved how it ended up all coming together and how it worked out for me. That was really fun. Something that's kind of interesting, so one of the questions was, what is your favorite Audrey Hepburn movie? And that was a hard question because I like so many of them. I think my favorite is Charade, and I love it because she is so funny, and just her facial expressions. That woman's got facial expressions that just for days. They just go for days. She's just awesome, and her facial expressions are so great, and she's just so cute, and she's so funny, and yet she's this really fun, smart, intelligent, kind of edgy woman. I loved that one. So there was also Wait Until Dark, which I think she did a brilliant job in, but I have to be honest, also a spoiler alert, kind of. Like my character in my book, I didn't like the first 5 and 10 minutes and the last 5 minutes of the movie, Wait Until Dark. The part where her husband is involved, Susie's the character that Audrey plays, And when Susie's husband is on screen with her, I don't like those parts because I think he's a complete creep. I think he's just mean. He's like, do it yourself, clean the freezer, woman. I'm like, dude, you're a bad human, just in all ways. And at the very end, when he's like, in the movie, when he's like, come walk over this broken glass with your bare feet because you need to prove something to me, even though 2 drug lords are dead in my apartment and you killed them and you took care of it all on your own. I still need you to prove yourself. It's like, dude, that guy is not a nice guy, and she should leave him and go with the other guy. Sadly, I won't spoil that movie with you, but you should watch the movie. Feel free to skip the first 5 and the last 5 minutes because you're okay to do that. So it's just my advice. You know, you do what you want, but I'm just saying, I just like think that he's, and I get that it's the time period and it was the time when, but no excuse to be a bad human. I don't care what time period you're in. You still get to be a nice human, and he just wasn't. Anyway, I don't know who wrote that character in, but they should have edited him out. It's just my opinion. Anyway, let's do another question. Do we have another one from the poll, or should we take one from here?
Someone did ask what Sylvia's favorite Jane Austen character was.
Oh, Sylvia's favorite Jane Austen character.
Yes.
Would have to be Emma. And the reason why is because her best friend is obviously Emma. But her favorite Jane Austen character is Emma, just because Emma is super sarcastic, says what she wants to say, and even though she has good intentions all the time, sometimes they just fall flat. So yeah, so that would be Sylvia's favorite Jane Austen character, is the character who is the fun, sassy, says what she wants, does what she wants, but then has to pay the price for it a little bit. It's like, ha ha ha, I'm funny, aren't I great? And oh, dang it, there was a consequence for what I said, and she has to deal with that. So yeah, that would definitely be Sylvia's favorite in that. As far as Sylvia, the real Sylvia, my friend Sylvia, that's an excellent question, and I'm going to ask her that. I'll go online and I'll answer that for you, the real Sylvia, because I don't actually know. We don't talk about Jane. I mean, she likes Jane Austen books. I don't know. Anyway, I know Sylvia the character. I'm not sure about Sylvia the best friend, but that's a good thing for me to find out about my best friend, don't you think? I agree. Okay, so another one is, do you get to design the covers for your books? No. That's the short answer. I don't get to design the covers. I love the people who do design the covers. I think they do an amazing job. I think they work really hard at it, and they do amazing things with it, and I'm really grateful for what they do. I don't have a lot of designing skills. I have a little bit. I have enough to be dangerous and to be critical of covers in general, but I don't know that I'm a good person for that sort of thing. So no, I don't get to, and that's okay. That's good. I write the books, and I feel like that, my part's over, and I move it over to them and say, "Hey, you go do your part now, and go make that pretty and shiny and happy." And I love that they do a good job. So thanks, Shadow Mountain. I owe you solid. It's pretty awesome that you guys do that. Let's see, another. Do you have plans for a book about any other characters we met in Lies Jane Austen Told Me? I love that this book is about Sylvia. Do I have plans for other characters? Not yet, but that doesn't mean that I won't have plans for them in the future, because I probably will at some point want to do something with them, because there was a few characters that were pretty great. There were also a few characters in Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's that weren't in Lies Jane Austen Told Me that were great and kind of worthy of their own space. But right now I'm currently working on a book that is all about fairy tales a little bit, and about it, so it's not directly related to either of those other two books, but it's fun, and so be on the lookout for that one. I don't know what it's called yet, because not only do I not get to pick the covers, I don't get to pick titles either, and that's a good thing, because I've come up with some really crummy titles in my time. So I'm really grateful that I have a team of people who are smarter than I am who help me with those things. That's awesome. So yeah, anyway, let's do another giveaway. Let's do our final giveaway, and before we do that, just really fast, talking about creative people, and we're going to talk about, I talked to you guys about how creativity is important and your creativity matters, and the voices that you're going to listen to. I want to be one of the voices for good in your life. So here I am saying that you insert your name here, like I did when I was in 2nd grade, and I inserted my thing. So I'm going to give you the rest, but you insert your name here, can do all of the things that you dream about doing. You can be as great as you want to be, and I know that you're going to do great things, and you're going to be great, and that you're going to succeed in those things that you try at. The thing is, you just can't quit. So keep doing what you're doing. Believe in yourself. Believe in the people around you. Be kind to other people. Be nice to each other on the internet. I know that's hard. That's a huge ask, but I'm just begging. Be nice on the internet. It'll make the world a better place. So let's do our giveaway. We are going to give away 4 books. See, we did 1, and then we did 2, and then we did 4. Imagine if I stayed long enough that we could do one more giveaway, it would be 8, but we're not going to. So we're going to end here, and the giveaways are Lies, Love, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, because it's awesome, and you're going to love it. And Lies Jane Austen Told Me, which is also awesome, and you're going to love it if you haven't read it. I don't know why you haven't read it yet. Get reading, honestly, people. And we're going to do Alima Todd's new book. This is an arc. It's A Song for the Stars, and it's amazing, and you guys are going to love it. And look how pretty its cover is, and it's got a little ship in the background. You're going to love it. And we're going to also be doing Healing Hearts, which is also an ARC, which is ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy, just in case you didn't know that part. And this is by Sarah Eden, and it's a fantastic book. Sarah's funny, and you're just going to love these. So Sarah and Alima are both fantastic, and you're going to love their books, and you're going to love my books. Be nice to us. Leave good reviews on Goodreads. Be nice online. I already said that. Anyway, let's do a drawing for these things, because 4 books. So we should make sure we get a good name that's worthy of the 4. Okay, got it. Look how cute our little basket is, by the way. Isn't that kind of fun? Anyway, I don't know who made it, but I kind of love it. It's bedazzled. It's got little sparkles on it. It's so cool. Anyway, so our fantastic grand prize winner is Corby Harrison. So yay! Congratulations, Corby! You've got 4 books, and they're 4 fantastic books. And thanks for joining me today. And if you have any more questions, I'll probably go online and answer them later. But have a good day. Enjoy books. Be nice people. And love the people around you. Bye.